Folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us right now is our friend Congressman Pete Hoekstra, former chair of the House Intelligence Committee. Hello, sir.
Hey, hello, Steve.
How are you?
I'm doing just great, thank you.
Well, I look forward to talking to you about your piece the other day at Newsmax about Syria and the Islamist rebels that the United States has held talks with. But first, your thoughts on the passing of Nelson Mandela.
Well, I mean, here's a great individual. He became really the reference, the standard for individuals around the world. Someone who stood up for what he believed in and had a tremendous impact. There's not that many people like that with that kind of stature in the world today, and so we all mourn his loss. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now let's take it to where we are with the Islamist rebels and in Syria. I mean, this just seems, because there's no more focus. There's no more media attention on what's going on in Syria. In fact, we learned, I think it was this week or maybe it was the last time we spoke, we might have discussed, if not, we will now, that, the reason Obama chickened out of blasting Syria with airstrikes was because he was in talks with Iran, and he did it to please Iran. I mean, for a year they've been talking, and no one knew, and that kind of might have had an effect on how he handled the Syrian situation. So, talk about where we are, what we could expect, and talk about our relationship with the Syrian rebels who are, terrorists. I wish I could tell you, Steve. I mean, that's the frightening thing about this administration. We no longer understand who's on our side and who our enemies are. And this goes all the way back to early on when Obama moved into the White House. You remember the Green Revolution in 2009? The people go to the streets. Whose side are we on? We're on the side of the regime.
Right.
The people go to the streets in Egypt. Whose side are we on? We're on the side of the Muslim Brotherhood, who's overthrowing Mubarak, someone who has been an ally for 20 to 30 years. In Afghanistan with this administration, there's always been rumors and talks about, hey, well, we're negotiating with the Taliban at the same time that they're killing American soldiers. In Libya, we ally with the jihadists and a lot of folks we don't know who ended up attacking us in Benghazi. And then this week we hear, oh, by the way, we're negotiating with the Islamists in Syria. And it's like, wait a minute, don't you understand the Islamists in Syria? They're the ones that attacked us, or their friends are the ones that attacked us in Benghazi, killed Americans. Earlier this week, probably are responsible for killing another American, and we're negotiating with you in Syria.
But Congressman, this is an administration that is kissing the butt of Iran as they're killing American soldiers in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and there's no outrage. I mean, and the American people ought to be outraged with this president, the mess that this president is creating. Our friends no longer trust us. We've lost Egypt. Israel, I think, is beside itself. They're alone. It appears their only ally now in the Middle East is Saudi Arabia. How does this happen?
Well, the great uniter united Israel and Saudi Arabia. Not kind of what we had in mind, I guess.
No, it wasn't what we had in mind at all. But and what, so people say, Pete, what's the impact of this? What difference does it really make? The difference it really makes is, we now are seeing a resurgent Al-Qaeda, a resurgent Islamist movement. They see America as weak. They are training and people are participating in Syria, other parts of the world. They're participants. They're fighting with Al-Qaeda and radical jihadists. They're from the West. They're from Europe. They're from Canada. And yes, they're from the United States. They're going to come back. And we are growing this problem. This problem is not diminishing under this president. It is growing by leaps and bounds. And we saw that on Sunday when both Mike Rogers and Dianne Feinstein. Did you see Dianne Feinstein on CNN on Sunday?
Yeah, she was not happy, and it was very unlike what you would expect from her with regard to.
She used the word jihadist.
Yep. Well, I give
Islamists all in one sentence.
I know. I guess Obama must have passed out if he was watching it. I want to move, Congressman, real quick to the Friday information dump part of that now being reported by the Washington Examiner is that the administration, after weeks refusing to detail the extent of the back-end problems with the Obamacare website, today they said a technical bug affected about 25% of enrollments on the federal exchanges. Now, this is separate from the troubles that people had getting on and getting information. This is people who did get on. It got screwed up by a bug after they thought they enrolled. They really weren't enrolled. I mean, the news just keeps getting worse.
The Democrats in Congress, if there was an insurance company that was losing and misreporting 25% of its customers' information, sending it to the wrong place, sending it unsecured, they would be calling for the Securities and Exchange Commission, every federal agency to come down on that insurance company or that privately held company and put them out of business, and would have fined them. But with the federal government, it's kind of like, well, hey, these glitches happen. What's the big deal? We're working on it. We'll get it fixed soon. There's a double standard here. The bottom line is, this system's not going to work. It was destined to fail from its beginning. Democrats don't mind if it fails because we all know that they want to go to single payer anyway. They want this all run by the government. So they're not sweating it.
Right.
Early on next year, you'll start people calling for single payer system.
Absolutely.
Because the insurance companies screwed this up. Government was fine. The private sector screwed it up.
Of course, it's always the private sector. Congressman, we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much, sir.
Always good to talk to you.
You
Thanks,
too.
Steve.
Congressman Pete Hoekstra,
Goodbye.
former chair of the House Intelligence Committee, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Still ahead in this hour, coming up at the right after the break, we're going to be joined by our friend Noel Shepard, associated of newsbusters.org, and we're going to go, with Malzberg's Media Madness. And then Stacey Ruth and Carrie Beth Stolten, recording artists, co-founders of the 1,000-strong Christian Patriot Movement, going to talk about the war on Christmas. And then next hour, I'm so thrilled, Walter Williams, distinguished economist at George Mason University, syndicated columnist. He'll weigh in on his column on blacks and Obama. Also, I'm sure he'll weigh in on the passing of Nelson Mandela. All ahead, Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV, and